Have you ever thought about how you're creative? How you actually create things and produce things? I think everyone has a creative process. They just may not understand it. And I'm here today to hopefully give you a few insights. My name is Will Nelson. I have a company called Vitalogy, and we have two systems that we've developed. One is called Vital Mind, and the other is Vital Body. And today I want to talk about a portion of Vital Mind that has to do with the creative process. You see, I've been very blessed in my career. That's been a few years now, over 30, believe it or not. Time flies, but here we are. But I was able to work with a lot of very successful people. And they were very creative. And what struck me was they didn't have a lot of creative blocks. They could produce almost at will, day after day. It wasn't some elusive thing and they needed the right sweater on or the wood cackling in the fireplace. They could just do it on demand. And I started to study that, and I started to see patterns. And I want to talk to you today about a couple of patterns that I noticed that might be helpful to you. Now, first of all, when we talk about the creative process, let's frame it in Western and Eastern thinking. So Western thinking is all about go for it. It's all about striving and working hard and being committed and willingness, and 80-hour work weeks even, if necessary. And that's wonderful, and if you're trying to do big things, you got to have some push. It's almost like a rocket going into space. Do you know how much fuel it uses just to do the first mile? Like a percentage of the whole trip is just the first mile. So if you're going to do big things, then you got to be pushing. But there's a point where you push too much and it's unsustainable and you suffer from burnout.
What does that mean?
Oh, crash out for you all.
Okay. I get you. Yeah, there's a lot of people my age suffering from that.
Yes. And here's what we can do about it. We can understand that from an Eastern perspective, it's allowing and flowing. It's not pushing. So there's a difference between make it happen and let it happen. And there are moments as you're working your creative process where you can feel, hopefully, that sense of making it happen, and maybe you just need to let it happen. So a couple of ways of doing that. I want to talk about a Venn diagram. And a Venn diagram is two overlapping circles with an overlapping space in between. And the first Venn diagram I want to talk about is the right and left side of the brain. A lot of us believe that we're either predominantly analytical and very structured, or we're very spontaneous and creative. Do you know anyone like that?
I would say I'm pretty spontaneous and creative.
Alrighty then. So, there's this idea that you're one or the other. And I offer that you're both. I offer that there's an overlap between that structure and that analyticalness and that creativity and spontaneousness. And that's what's called the ambidextrous brain. Now, if we talk about the body, we can talk about ambidextrous people. People who do things equally well with the right or left hand. And if you think about it, you can hold or move or do things with your right and left hand together, but they're still your right and left hand. So you have these two sides of your brain, but there is an overlap, and you can facilitate that overlap by being aware in the moment. What would best serve me right now in this situation? Would I be better served to be more structured and analytical, or is this an opportunity to be creative and spontaneous? And even if you're very dominant to one side, if you develop just a modicum, a very small amount of facility with the other side of your brain in terms of having the moment-to-moment awareness of what you need to do to move a given project or idea forward, it's going to make things a lot easier for you. So be aware of that in your day-to-day operations with things. Do I want to be analytical or structured here? Would that best serve where we are in the process, or would it be better if I am spontaneous and creative? The second Venn diagram I want to talk about is the Venn diagram that is process and execution. And the overlap between them is performance. Now, when you go to do something, there's two things you're bringing to the table. One is, what are your skill sets? We're asking to execute something. Is that writing an email? Is that building some type of a model? What are you actually doing? That's execution. But then you have process, and that's your attitude and your mood and your sort of point of view about life as it applies to this. So process and execution are going back and forth and working in harmony, because the overlap is performance. When you have a sense of your process or your attitude around something and a sense of your execution, you can meld those two together to optimize your performance. So let's say, for example, you're working on something and it involves an authority figure. Now, most of us in our work have at times, even those of us who are self-employed, a person acting as an authority figure, possibly overlooking a project, so forth. So I have somebody doing that for me with this channel and doing these videos. They have experience with this, they have a certain understanding about how to do these things, and so they provide a certain level of authority, and I defer to them in certain respects. Now, if on the process side I have an issue with authority, let's say because of my childhood or something like that, then my ability to execute can be inhibited because I got something kind of running in the background, some static, because I got an issue with authority. So when we go to produce something and execute something, we have to look at what our attitude is around it as well. Maybe we're working on something together, but I think you're going to get all the credit. How is that going to affect my execution? Maybe I'll withhold a little bit, or I won't really put myself out there completely. So remember to be aware of both sides of your brain, the analytical and the spontaneous. And by the way, here's a good example of that. Way back in the day, classical musicians, century ago, had to follow a very strict mathematical formula. Anything else was not allowed. And yet, they could produce this most amazing and beautiful music, because they went from the structure, they took the structure that was really imposed upon them, but they brought their own spontaneity and creativity to it. They worked together. It's not exclusion, it's inclusion. And it's the same with process and execution. It's not excluding one or the other, it's including both. But if you're having difficulty with something that you're trying to produce, ask yourself, is this pure execution? Is it a skill set issue? Is it a non-understanding about something? Or is this something about my process because it's triggering something from my past? Might be an opportunity to look at something to work on. So, I leave you with this. You have an amazing creative process. The more that you get in touch with it, the more you're going to be able to deliver it and express it on demand when you want to. Now, yes, you're going to have those days. There's a famous author who, very prolific, and one day his assistant comes at the end of the day, and the guy's like all slumped over his desk. He's like, oh. And it's like, what happened? He's like, I only got 8 words today. And I didn't know the order to put them in. That's a bad day. But it's a bad day. And the other 364, he's producing. So we're going to have those days. We're going to have those moments. But when we understand what our process is and how the process itself works, those days are going to be much more few and far between. So, like and subscribe, or have they already?
Y'all better have liked and subscribed.
All right, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a blessed day.